And now for the smooth stylings of Billy DeTore.
Huh?
From Rochester, New York, the home of just about everything that's important to us at this day and age, this is FC3's Monkey Business, your one-stop shop for everything geeky. And you know what, kids? Everything can be geeky if you love it enough. Starring the aforementioned Billy DeTore, starring the not yet mentioned Tanya Metris, still starring the I'm almost afraid to mention Daniel Carmen, and then there's me. I'm not going to be mentioning it all. My name is Chris. I'm your host. I hope you're having a good day. And hey, look at this. The four of us are in the same room.
No way.
It's amazing.
Wait.
Am I here?
Am
I
here.
really here?
Billy's having an existential crisis. Time.
Yeah.
Does anyone really know what time it is? Does anyone really care?
9:50?
Yeah, by 9:50.
Okay. If you say so.
I do. Once in a great while it happens.
We are recording in the same room for the first time in...
Over
a year.
It's got to be over a year. I can't even think of the last date.
Let's see. The pandemic officially started on Friday, Friday the 13th.
Okay.
Because that was the last date I bowled. We bowled on a Friday the 13th.
There's a panache there.
And my last day at Record Archive was March 14th, Saturday. And
Did we? I think we tried.
We didn't podcast the week before because we were at the Strong Museum.
Right.
Okay.
And I
So
think
it
we
was
tried
2
getting
weeks.
together one time afterwards, but then we were like, let's just play cautious.
Yeah, we're not sure where this thing is going. So,
So we all went into our respective hibernations, and we found Zencaster in all of its glory. Don't worry, I know the guy who does the laundry. Oh, is it table separating there?
The table separating.
Just give me a push, Bill. There we go.
yay.
So right now we're in my dining room in the hallowed halls of the west side of the city, and we're all around the table, and Dan's got his portable podcasting studio set up, and this is very cool, and the red dot is still on, so that's great.
Must mean we're still recording.
We are still recording.
So we're going to be
watching.
watching that very carefully.
We're all going to be watching that tiny little button or a tiny little light there. This is cool, though. It's good to see everybody.
Same.
Tanya, you're well? You're doing all right? You got a little sunburn yesterday.
I did.
And that's not hurting you too much right now.
Nope.
Okay. Billy, how you doing?
I'm doing good. And as I look around the room, I notice one person doesn't fit the...
Yeah, I'm not wearing a Star Wars shirt today.
Yeah, the other three of us are wearing
Slacker.
Star Wars T-shirts.
It's okay. That's all right. It's because, I'm... No, I have nothing.
I was going to say, we're recording something today regards to Star Wars,
Yes.
and then we're playing Star Wars later today. So that's why I got my I'm all ears.
I'm just going to go through the timeline of my morning real quick.
Okay.
I woke up at 6 and I had gone to bed at 2.
Ooh.
I realized the horrible miscalculation there, and I managed to find a way to find myself back to sleep until 8:30, when I then scrambled to Wegmans to get the sumptuous buffet that is in the kitchen at the moment, and then grab a shower, because unlike you, I don't smell so good in the morning. So I was kind of in a race, and I just grabbed the first shirt on the pile. I didn't go rooting around for a Star Wars shirt. So considering everything that's up in the office just above me, including the TIE Fighter Lego set, I think I can survive that one.
You can.
I can weather that storm. So, but we're also going to take selfies today. We're going to get a picture of the four of us together for the first time in ages, so that we can post that along with the
Proof that we exist.
proof that we exist, proof of life, as it were. So that's a good thing. That's a good thing. And how about you, Daniel-san? How you holding up there?
I'm doing good. I was running yesterday, and apparently I got a few blisters, so that's always fun.
Okay.
Oh,
I never get blisters. That was a nice surprise to get like 3 of them yesterday. So,
You're being sarcastic at the moment.
no, I'm serious. I never get blisters.
Oh, okay.
So I am being sarcastic that it was a nice surprise.
See, it's just more proof that exercise is bad for you.
There you go. I'm telling you. It's amazing. And that's good. All right. Exciting. So today, as Tanya has intimated already, we're here's the thing. Today we're going to start a little bit of a format change, insofar as that we've had some recent talks, and we wanted to make the podcast a little bit different, but not dramatically so. So you are hearing here in episode 195 of FC3's Monkey Business, over 5 years of recording this thing. We are going to start kind of focusing more on a particular style. We used to kind of just gallivant around and talk about whatever seems to be interesting at the moment, and you never really knew what you were going to get. And that's all well and good. It made for some fun conversations. It also made for some challenging ones when we were like, we're reaching here, but so we're going to try and focus our attention a little bit. So instead of occasionally doing Billy's original idea of not a book club, where we pick a subject and we discuss it and whatnot in a fairly not a book club, or it's not a book, we're talking about fashion. We are going to be starting to focus. We're going to be focusing on movies and TV series, streaming services, things like that. We're going to focus on that. So we're going to be doing...
So it's kind of a challenge. Because for us to focus.
Yeah, well, there's that.
Squirrel.
So this is...
Hi there.
So it's a two-part thing. You're kind of trying to focus, but then you can see if we actually do focus.
Right.
During the episode.
And we're going to dig up some trivia about various subjects, and we're going to talk about some of the nuts and bolts, and we're going to do some theory crafting along the way, and... a little bit of this, that, and the other thing. And we're going to cheat a little bit because the first movie we're doing in this particular new format is something we've talked about in the past.
Yes.
It's something that everybody talks about at one point or another.
Pornography?
Yes, that's true.
Oh.
Yes.
Okay.
We are doing the naked episode today.
After the break, we're doing the naked episode.
I should have showered then.
So, no, we're going to be diving into Star Wars Episode 4, A New Hope, the original Star Wars movie that started the whole thing off.
I've never heard of that before.
I know, it's amazing. You saw it for the first time, didn't you? With the way George Lucas muddles around with it, it is very likely you could say you've seen it for the first time.
Because it changes all the time.
There's always a new version. It's weird.
No, it's funny. I've got coworkers that have never seen it.
We have friends and
I'm like,
and coworkers.
are you kidding me?
It's amazing to me when I still come across people who A, have not seen it, or B, saw it and they're like, I don't like that. I'm like, wow, really? I don't like Star Wars. Is that a sentence people actually say? That's
I point to them and tell them to get out of my class.
Get out.
That's
Get
why I
out.
haven't seen the Tulio in over a year.
I know.
Oh,
my
that
God.
and other reasons, but...
Yeah, well, yeah. I don't know if you're missing much there.
They've mentioned that lately, like on May 4th, they were mentioning
Man, yeah.
May the 4th, it's Star Wars Day.
He was very funny. We used to have some great battles on the radio about his lack of a geeky gene. All those sports is very geeky, but he would never admit it. My friend John.
It's just geeky in a different way. And
Yep.
he doesn't want to admit that it's all the
But
same.
in our format change also, rather than attack the whole Star Wars au revoir, like try and talk about everything from, the original to, what was the last one? The
Bad
Death of
Bat.
Skywalker.
Right, the Rise of Skywalker.
Yeah, okay. Rather than try and do 11 movies,
Yes.
we're actually going to talk about one movie.
One movie only. One
and not
movie.
try and
One
figure out
thing
the
only.
whole
One
legacy.
movie only, Mr. Vasily.
We try and not figure out 11 times 2. What would that be like? 20,
There's
like 25 hours worth of movies, and then
some.
Then Mandalorian and Clone Wars
And the animated series.
try and tackle all that in under an hour. We're actually going to talk about one movie.
Right. And this is what we're going to handle. So and then we're going to try and keep it in themes for a couple of episodes. So if there's a trilogy of movies, then each week we're going to hit one of the movies in that trilogy. And then we're going to bounce over here, and we're going to do this movie over here, and we're going to do this movie over here. We'll talk about the TV show over here. And we're also going to be looking and doing some thinking, and we're going to try and bring you stuff that you would not have maybe talked about. I know I mentioned during one of our planning meetings, His Dark Materials, the streaming service, the Golden Compass movie, stuff like that. Things that aren't normally prevalent in our consciousness, but are they good? Are they bad? Are they indifferent? We'll figure these things out along the way. So you can kind of sort of understand where we're going with things. And we're at episode 195.
195.
Five more episodes, and we're at the magic 200, and we have absolutely nothing special planned at the moment, but we're working on that.
We got 5 episodes to choose something.
Yes, we do have that. We have a special episode, so the 200 will probably be a retrospective of everything we've been through over the past many years.
Then in 105 episodes from now, we'll talk about the movie 300.
There it is.
Mark it down.
All right.
There it is.
Planning it already.
So in episode 300, we're going to be talking about the movie 300. This is Sparta. Anyway, come on, you're going to love it. Bunch of guys oiled up, fighting each other.
Okay.
She started. Yeah, see, you perked right up on that one. Yeah,
See, it's nice being in the same room. You can see that now.
exactly. See, we did have a decent time when we were on Zencaster because we would have the video feed running so we could see each other's faces for the most part.
Actually, we didn't. We just you and
Oh
I.
no, it was usually that's right. It was
we
just you
did,
and me
we
would do that. But there were times where I
Yeah.
could see, like, even if we're doing meetings or things like that. But this is good to be in the room with you Although
there's a different energy.
there's a different energy when we're all in the room together. Also, I have to say, I'm a little closer to Tanya than usual, so I got to watch what I say because I am going to get smacked. So, yeah, there it is. Yeah, I'm going to get smacked somewhere along the line.
Yeah, usually you're through a computer where I couldn't get you.
Yes, that worked in my favor on several occasions.
But when we're in the studio, I really could get to you. Or in Dan's house.
Ooh, that light? Nope, no major luck. Anyway.
Oh, don't do that to him.
All right, so we're going to take a quick break, and when we come back, it is that time, it is that place, and we're going to be chatting about it right here. Episode 4, A New Hope. It is a period of civil war. Rebel spaceships striking from a hidden base have won their first victory against the evil Galactic Empire. During the battle, rebel spies managed to steal secret plans to the Empire's ultimate weapon, the Death Star, an armored space station with enough power to destroy an entire planet. Pursued by the Empire's sinister agents, Princess Leia races a home aboard her starship, custodian of the stolen plans that can save her people and restore freedom to the galaxy. Dun, dun, dun.
That's much shorter than what they wanted originally.
Yeah, we can talk about that in a moment.
Okay.
Star Wars is an American epic space opera media franchise created by George Lucas, which began with the eponymous 1977 film.
May I stop you? The word is eponymous.
Eponymous. Hippopotamus. Mm-hmm. Okay, so
The eponymous hippopotamus was named
the
Hippopotamus.
franchise created by George Lucas, which began with the Hippopotamus film from 1977. I'm going to learn that word eventually, somewhere along the line. Today is not that day. And it quickly became a worldwide pop culture phenomenon. The franchise has been expanded into various films and other media, including television series, video games, novels, comic books, theme park attractions, and themed areas, comprising an all-encompassing fictional universe. In 2020, its total value was estimated at $70 billion, and it is currently the 5th highest grossing media franchise of all time.
Wow.
70 billion.
I went like this.
You did. You did. You're in good shape over there.
No one else can see it, though.
So let's talk about the movie that started it all. Now, Tanya, you did not see it in the theaters because you were 2 years old when it came out, I think. Or no, 5.
I was 5.
5 years old. Did you see it in the theaters?
I would think so, considering it wasn't on
They
DVD or anything.
Well, HBO started playing the hell out of it early on in the 80s, too.
Well, yeah, I mean, by the age of 8, I must have seen it in the theater because I was Princess Leia for Halloween.
Okay.
And 3rd grade.
You know,
so,
the headset you're wearing is kind of giving that
I
whole
know
cinnamon buns thing going.
because my hair's pulled back into a messy bun today.
Yeah, we're going to have a picture.
Picture time.
No.
Picture time. Let's smile. See, there you go. Oh, she's so cute. Okay.
You're such a jerk.
Yes, I am.
Okay.
Thank you, everybody. Thank you. Appreciate it.
He'll be here all day.
I will. Well, most likely.
Right now, anyone listening is going, can they all go back to their houses?
Yes.
It's so much better when they were separated.
Who's touching my leg? Oh, it's the cat. I'm like, who's...
Sorry, Chris, I couldn't help myself.
Daniel. I know it's been a while since we've seen each other, but what's this button do?
Oh, that's
There's the music for Dan touching your leg.
Okay.
Dan must be reaching across the table because it just went behind my feet.
My daughter's cat is milling around in the dining room at the moment. All right, so where were we? So let's talk about the movie then.
Okay, now you saw it in the theater.
Mm-hmm.
I also saw it in the theater, but it took me a while. In that I remember my sister actually saw it before me. She went to a birthday party and she saw it, I think, in the winter of '77. Would have still been in the theater at
Most
that point.
likely. I mean, that's the thing is it had a huge run because it was so unpredictably popular.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I mean, there was actually, I think, some studio, if I remember the trivia correctly, some theaters, it went out of a usual run, like a 12-week run or something like that, but there was such a demand for it, they called it back in and started doing a second run of it. Because, you know, in the 70s, you didn't have HBO, you didn't have Netflix and stuff like that, so people wanted to see this movie, And the movie theater's like, okay, we'll make arrangements so you can see it again.
And I think I sort of put up sort of that it's too popular. I don't want to see it because so many people have seen it. But I was well aware, like all my friends had the toys and stuff, and I was aware of Darth Vader.
Right.
And I could picture Darth and didn't necessarily know the other characters till I think I saw it maybe, in the spring of 78 or late winter 78. And obviously I loved it. And I was stupid for waiting for so long. But it didn't stop me from boycotting E.T. for a while, though.
Yeah, I was okay with that. I got dragged to E.T., but that's another story entirely.
Yeah.
I remember the first time I saw it, and I'm a little vague on this, so hopefully my dad will be able to fill in, because I know I've mentioned this story on several occasions over the years. We were on family vacation, and every late spring, summer, right after school would be let out, because my mom was a school teacher. The three of us would invariably end up in Lake Placid for a couple of days, just to kind of get away, walk around, see the sights, just relax for a little bit. And there was a movie theater in town, and it had Star Wars. And so my dad took me to see Star Wars to give my mom a night off from being a mom. And I was like 6.5, 7 years old. My birthday's in September. So I remember being in the theater, and I remember seeing it for the first time and just mind blown. Right, which is easy for a 6-year-old.
Yeah,
it's harder for 50. So it's astounding that these movies that are able to do it, they're able to make me nowadays, after all of the fantasy and sci-fi that we've seen over the past 4.5, 5 decades. There's still movies that can do that. And I'm looking at you, Endgame. Anyway, but you're 6 years old, 6.5, whatever, and I'm in the theater, and I don't think the story truly made perfect sense to me at the time, but it was the visuals.
Absolutely, because it wasn't until maybe I rewatched it a few years ago where everything clicked. Where it made complete sense. Until then, I think I sort of thought stormtroopers were robots.
Yeah, I'm wondering if I was thinking that too at the time. And because they were so completely
the same.
Yeah, they were all identical, but that fit into. We can sit to philosophical discussion as we get into the conversation here. There's whole that uniformity, was part of the, the oh God, what's the idiom of the empire, right? It's more of that sign, that the signature of them,
right?
That whole iconography. That's the word I was looking for. Iconography, yeah. But the visuals and the lasers and the ships and the sound effects, and even at 6, the music was making me sit up and take notice, because I feel, and we can talk about this a little bit further down the road in this conversation. I wonder if Star Wars would have been as popular without John Williams.
I don't think so.
The music just it
clinches it.
Yeah, it clinches it. It ties the whole package together.
The music, like I said, I rewatched it yesterday just to sort of refresh myself, and the music holds up almost better than the movie overall.
Yeah,
and that really, the first half hour or so. Almost reminds me of a Doctor Who episode.
That's fair.
And that, once you get taken away into the story, it looks perfect.
Right.
But at the very start, what looked amazing in 1977 looks a little cheesy now.
And that's, you make it the Doctor Who reference, and I will always refer to the Tom Baker episode, The City of Death, where there is literally 20 minutes of him just walking through the streets of Paris with the stupid jaunty synthesizer music in the background. So you look at Star Wars, and there's a lot of in that early when the droids make it to Tatooine, there's a lot of really unnecessary them walking through sand. And with the music helps kind of tie the whole emotion of it together. I was into those scenes then because I'm just looking at the visuals. Now I'm into it because I'm still listening to the music. Any reason to listen to John Williams music, as far as I'm concerned.
And the very first scene of the movie, past the scroll, always surprises me that it happens. In my head, I always picture Luke and his uncle at the robot market.
Okay.
Where they find R2-D2 and C-3PO. I always forget about the part where the Empire captures Leia.
Okay.
I don't know why.
But
it always surprises me when that happens.
That
With
opening effect is so
C-3PO and R2-D2 sort of going through the spaceship.
Right. And that opening sequence where the Star Destroyer fades into view and just slides right into the picture. It's iconic. And I've noticed how each of the Star Wars movies after that have tried to emulate that in some way, shape, or form. The first image that you see of the movie is some sort of ship sliding into view. I don't know. I think one of them misses that. I don't remember which one.
Or pan down to a planet.
Right. Yeah, like in Revenge of the Sith, because the Battle of Coruscant is the first sequence of Revenge of the Sith. So here's the opening, and boom, it pans down to Coruscant, and then you see all the ships kind of going in.
But it starts in space, though.
It starts in space.
They all start in space. So they lend some sort of continuity there. So yeah,
that's good. So we have our opening crawl, which I read top end of the spot there, and then we have our dramatic music, and Star Wars comes blazing in across in its typeset there that's iconic in its own way. Or no, wait, no, excuse me, I have it backwards. I'm sorry. Jesus, I just watched this the other day.
Long time ago in a galaxy
far away. Then, and there's the opening crawl ding, the music.
As soon as you hear that music,
yes,
you're like, ooh, it's starting.
It's a chill. And at first it was just cool. Because it's so, that first note is so loud, it's so full, it's so demonstrative of every instrument in the orchestra is involved in it. And bam, you're thrown back into your seat right off the bat from the word go. And then it takes it into this anthem, this soaring anthem, and then there's the crawl, and then it kind of gently eases out, and then there's the ship, all very ominous and stuff.
Yeah,
cool.
The music drives it. I mean, I don't know where it would have been without the music.
Right, Billy, you're a big music aficionado.
Yes,
you are our go-to guy when it comes to music. You succeed. I've heard your show. I mean, I love your taste in music. So. Is that one of the first things you noticed even as a kid?
Yeah, I'm sure it is because, like I said, in my head, other than that, my brain goes to Luke and Owen buying
So that
robots.
whole first sequence just kind of gets eliminated and set aside.
But I remember the crawl. The crawl is iconic, and like you said, the opening of John Williams' score.
Yeah.
And then I don't know where my brain went. Next thing I know, Luke is
buying droids.
Yeah.
Luke and his uncle Owen are buying droids. And I'm going to go to Tasty State to get some parking conveyors. And the whining began right off the bat. I mean, the kid's first scene, he's whining. It's amazing. So, but all right. So okay. So it's interesting because we're talking about the ships. We're talking about the opening sequence and the whole, Leia giving the plans to R2 right off the bat, that sets the whole story into motion, and he's already checked out and waiting for the droid market, in scene 5 or scene 6.
I think in the end, like I said, I've seen the movie a few times since, maybe more than a few since that original time, and C-3PO annoys the hell out of me.
Yes.
I don't know if I check out because it's so C-3PO heavy until Luke shows up. What are you doing out to? Get over here. Blah, 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 blah.
Yeah,
Shut
the
up.
arguing. And, I thought that was interesting, too, because, the more I think about it, the more... I mean, let's talk about that dynamic, because you're so used to the robots being, mechanical, obviously, and having the mechanical voice and very emotion. I mean, come on, Doctor Who, Daleks. You're used to that. Right. All the voices are like this at all times. So to have C-3PO and R2 having a very Abbott and Costello kind of relationship, very Laurel and Hardy. I mean, there's definitely a straight man and a color man. But the whole thing is, it's R2 is the color man. You have no idea what he's saying. You can get the gist of
the
it.
Inflections of the beeps.
You can get emotion out of the inflections of what this droid is beeping out, and it's like, this is different. This is so weird. Nobody had ever done it before, and really hasn't done it that well since.
Plus, how C-3PO responds to R2 also.
Yes.
So yeah, I mean,
they're having a conversation.
And it's very similar to Han and Chewie.
It is.
You don't know what Chewie is saying, but you can tell by the inflection, by Han's reaction.
Laugh it up, fuzzball. Which we'll talk about next week. I think the reason Star Wars succeeded is that there were no expectations to start off with, which is now the complete antithesis of the modern era of Star Wars, where everybody has expectations. But when Star Wars came out, nobody had any expectations. It was just a spring summer movie. It wasn't a blockbuster. It wasn't a tent pole. It wasn't one of those things that they hinged on. And the premise is simple in the overall, good versus evil, light versus dark. And it kept things very black and white,
And it all happened because George Lucas wanted to make a Flash Gordon movie, but
Right.
couldn't get the rights.
Yeah. Yeah, that's it. I mean, he's always talked about, in every interview, he's always talked about how he was into cereals when he was a kid. The Buck Rogers cereals, as you mentioned, the Tarzan and all of the adventure cereals that you would see in the black and white movies. And on every Saturday, you'd go to the movie theater, pay your 25 cents and sit there for a couple of hours and get the news, get the cartoons, get the feature, stuff, and then move on. It was episodic television, on a slightly grander scale. And he wanted to emulate that. And you even see that in the Indiana Jones series.
Oh, yeah.
Which we'll be tackling later this season. I'm probably call it news. Well, almost call it.
Whatever.
We're in season 7A. What happens to season 5, 6? It doesn't matter. We're in season 7A right now.
A?
All right, A. And so he emulated that in such a simple and almost elegant in its clunky way. And I think that's where the appeal stands from. Now, as Harrison Ford has pointed out, he said he took the script up to George and said, "You might be able to write this, but we can't say this shit." His dialogue writing is challenging. It's always gonna be a little wooden and a little clunky. That has been something that George has always suffered from is his dialogue writing, but the vision and the flow and how everything interacts with each other. You can't question it.
And one of the things, as I watched it again, it's a kid's movie.
It really is.
I think nowadays it suffers, not Star Wars itself, but the expectations of any sequel, any TV show from people who remember the first one fondly. But if you go back, it's not that much different in terms of acting, in terms of script than like a Return to Witch Mountain,
Right.
a Disney movie.
Well,
Right.
it's funny you bring it up. It says during production, George Lucas referred to this movie as a quote unquote Disney movie, trying to capture the whimsy of classic 1950s Disney family movies, one of Lucas's favorites being Swiss Family Robinson. Coincidentally, more than 30 years after the release of this movie, the Walt Disney Company would acquire Lucasfilm, Lucas's production company, including all the rights to the Star Wars stories and characters for $4 billion. Thus, the movie actually became a Disney movie in 2015.
And Leia, the first Disney princess.
Yes.
There it is.
No, actually, no, that's ridiculous because Snow White was back in the...
Right.
But still.
Yeah.
But now Leia
She
is a
is a
Disney,
Disney
princess.
princess.
God bless her. I miss that woman.
Now, one thing and this was later in the movie, and this is what made me think of it as a kid's movie. There's a shot after the Death Star is blown up where Han, Leia, Luke, and Chewie all like hug each other and smile big at the camera.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that reminds me of The Wizard of Oz.
Right.
Okay.
How they go off arm in arm.
Yeah.
It's almost like we're off to see the wizard, the wonderful Wizard of Oz.
I literally
Yeah.
thought Han found a heart.
Fair.
Luke found his home,
Fair. Okay.
and you have to stretch
And
for the other ones.
Leia found a blaster and
Yeah.
shot everybody. That's good though. I mean, we had Chewie would not be a cowardly lion. But yeah, I mean, Luke or Han found his heart. He had second thoughts. He came back. He showed his true colors. After all, went on to be the ultimate scoundrel.
I
but
mean, you can see the influences George Lucas took from, whether it's Flash Gordon or Wizard of Oz or the Disney movies that
right.
we've mentioned.
This is so weird to be able to look directly at you because when we were originally in the studio, there was always a computer screen between us. So I'd always be like, tilting my head left and right and center to see, hey, where's Billy? There he is. He's right there. I get to see him. This is so cool.
And now we're on the oval table here.
We're on the oval table.
The podcasters of the oval table.
That's it.
Now we're like the Super Friends in the Hall of Justice.
I like that. That's great. That's going to be an episode we're going to have to do now, Super Friends.
Super friends.
So, okay. So, crawl, music, space battle, desert planet, kind of clunky, kind of like why, but the music held it together. And then, so now we're at the droid market, and Luke and his Uncle Owen, they get 3PO and R5, and then R5 blows his lid, and then R2 pops in, and he's able to be reunited with C3PO, and C3PO continues the banter of, I don't know why I stick my neck out for. It's just, seriously, it's like Laurel and Hardy the entire time. Those two, they're always bickering with each other. They're an old married gay couple. Really, it's basically it.
Have you ever seen any other droids that are bicker like that? I mean,
no. I mean, well, since then they give androids and robots more personality since then, but not before then.
But even in Star Wars, are there any Star Wars droids that are like? I mean, the other
they didn't
droids,
come up with companion characters since then. I mean, BB-8 was your R2 for the sequel trilogy, right? And he had a very different personality. He was very upbeat. He was very kind of like a raucous little kid rolling along. It almost. I'll tell you this, and when we get into the sequel trilogy somewhere down the road, I will tell you my theory about how BB-8 and Poe Dameron are Indiana Jones and Short Round, and which one's which depends on what scene they're in. Okay? So that's my theory.
To be continued. Okay.
To be continued down the road. But, I think that it was so cool that, in essence, there really weren't many throwaway characters. I mean, you had your supporting background guys, that helped move the action along. You had your Imperials that were dime a dozen. You had your Imperial officers that were just, rebel scum. They're, throw the lines out. But in terms of the main grouping of characters, Tarkin, Vader, the station commander who was always on Tarkin's wing, and the guy who did not get choked during that first meeting, but the one who was was watching it going, oh, this is making me uncomfortable. And then, Chewie, Han, Leia, Luke, R2, C3PO,
I just want to make an interesting observation. And that yesterday while I was watching it, it hit me how good Ben Kenobi is. Alec Guinness is Ben Kenobi.
Yeah.
Is fantastic. And I always forget about him. And while you were listing characters, you didn't mention him either.
Well, I was about to.
Oh, okay.
He was, but the thing is, I realized I was saving him for, saving him for last. But as you mentioned it, he was very subtle. That was I think the beauty of it is that he was there to guide things along, not be in the spotlight. And he's the kindly old wizard who's going to teach the apprentice and move him along. But do you feel like his destiny was kind of clear from the first moment you saw him? Did it feel like he wasn't going to make it to the end of the movie?
No, I didn't.
No,
no,
didn't get that vibe.
No,
maybe I can't go back and reset my thinking to when I was 7.
Right.
So I can't. I mean, I look back at the story and I'm like, it's almost a mandatory thing. It's like trope-like at this point because everybody has emulated that relationship so much in so many different stories now that the master comes out of the woodwork to help teach the student. And then the master, like Aragon, for instance, the master's gone by the end of the first story. Or the 80s 90s movie Crossroads, where the old blues man is teaching Ralph Macchio's kid how to play the guitar. It has become a trope, so it's ingrained in my head.
I think as a little kid, I never expect any of the good guys to die.
Okay.
Yeah.
And that's valid. Yeah, because that's not supposed to happen, right? The good guys win, bad guys lose.
And by the way, the lightsaber fight between Darth and Obi-Wan just doesn't hold up.
No.
Yeah.
It's terrible.
No.
It was awesome for the time.
Yeah.
Because you're so used to...
Nowadays,
Stage
CGI
fighting.
would have them doing flips and stuff.
Well, have you seen the reimagined fight scene that somebody put together? There's a fan film, basically. It's on YouTube. It's a reimagining of scene something or other. I can't remember what the exact fight scene is labeled as. But it is a fan's reimagining of the fight scene between Obi-Wan and Darth Vader at the end of the Death Star series sequence there, and they are all over those hallways. They are throwing each other around. It is brutal. It is awesome. It's more along the lines of what we're used to today in terms of lightsaber fights. But you also have to remember that the original imagining of it's an old man versus a cripple, and so they're doing their best with what little they have left in the tank is essentially it,
Yeah, I saw that. That was pretty cool.
Yeah, it was
video.
cool. That was an awesome video.
It would, if it had happened today, that's how it would have been.
Right.
But yeah, back in '77,
these people even CGI'd Alec Guinness's face onto whoever was doing the moves for the Obi-Wan character, and it was brutal.
More like the Yoda fight in the.
It really
Yeah.
was. It was more like the Yoda Dooku fight.
Yeah.
Or Yoda Palpatine. There was a lot of pushing and throwing and
Using the Force more versus just lightsabers.
yeah. At one point, Kenobi, through a series of events, actually sets Vader on fire.
See, now I'm looking forward now to next week because I'll watch Empire Strikes Back before next week.
Yeah.
And see how the Luke Darth Vader battle holds up.
It evolves, but it's still you see, and we'll talk more about it next week.
Yeah.
I think you see more of what's going to come in cinema. Yeah, with the Empire Strikes Back, the Luke and Vader fight, you're going to start seeing the groundwork of stage combat in the future, and not so much the stage combat of the past as you see with the Kenobi Vader fight at the end of Star Wars, the original. So, but I don't know if it's going to hold up. In the overall, I don't think it's going to hold up, but
It's hard to compare any old movie to today.
yeah, it really is.
because so much has changed, so much has evolved, and you really have to put your mindset in. Okay, this happened almost 50 years ago, 45 years ago, and this was great at the time. So I mean, you can't compare it to today's movies.
And these are the people who set the tone. The reason that sci-fi and fantasy cinema has evolved so dramatically over the past 50 years is because of this movie that we're talking about today. It really, I mean, you can point to Star Trek: The Motionless Picture that came out a couple years later. You can point to even classics of sci-fi like 2001: A Space Odyssey from the 60s that made everybody who was tripping and having a grand old time in the flower power era was just staring at the visuals of 2001: A Space Odyssey. And I would love to do a proper, not a book club of that movie, of 2001: A Space Odyssey.
I've never seen it.
I don't know if I could manage to sit through it a second time. I finally got I got all the way through it about 10, 15 years ago. From start to finish, I watched the whole thing, and I was like, okay, that was an experience. And I won't
It was
repeat
a different type of cinema back then.
Yeah, it's more art than fantasy sci-fi.
It was. I mean, it was,
and that's great. I mean, I'm not gonna demean it, but you with Star Wars: A New Hope, you see a seismic shift in how fantasy special effects television and movies are handled at that point. It's seismic.
Yep.
Like it was no longer overnight. It went from it's that little B movie thing that you're going to go and throw a couple bucks away at the movie theater for, to now this is the thing we're going to look forward to for the rest of our lives.
Yeah. I mean, before that, like you said, in a couple years, we would have Star Trek: The Motion Picture, which not good.
No.
But Star Wars lent credibility to science fiction blockbusters. Before that, there was 2001: A Space Odyssey, which, like I said, I've never seen. But other than that, Planet of the Apes was a hit. And other than that, you had B movies that I would watch on Channel 8 on Saturday afternoons, whether it was Japanese Godzilla movies or various flying saucer movies that didn't have good acting or good scripts. They were just aliens and ray guns. And when I was a kid, now that I think about it, Channel 21 or local PBS would show the old Flash Gordon serials during pledge season to draw kids and families. And there was nothing else on. So I did grow up watching the old Flash Gordon movies of the 40s, 30s, and 40s.
Other than seeing snippets of them and hearing people talk about them, I've never watched any of them.
I'm sure they don't hold up at all.
Sure, but I think they'd be
of
worth a
them
look
fondly.
just to see. Yeah, I think for the nostalgia factor alone, I think I would want to watch a couple of them just to satisfy some curiosity. Here's the big reaching question, and then we can jump back to talking about the movie a little bit more. Without Star Wars: A New Hope 1977, do we get the Avengers? Do we get Fast and the Furious even? Do we get any of that stuff?
Maybe from a different path. You got to think at some point
Something
becomes the big enough hit to be what Star Wars did become.
Okay.
Somewhere along the way. Whether it was Jaws didn't quite work. I think Jaws was before Star Wars, right?
Yeah, but there was a big fight to get the movie made. It wasn't an easy process for him to get it made. Even when I watched the things. What are the things that made us ever the Star Wars toys, and to get the merchandising, that was a struggle too to get because this was out of everybody's realm. Nobody knew what to do with it.
Right.
So I don't know. It might have taken a lot longer. Who knows what we would have been today?
We wouldn't have had Star Trek.
Battlestar Galactica wouldn't have been around.
Battlestar Galactica wouldn't have happened.
That was pretty much a direct result of that.
I mean, Star Trek: The Next Generation would probably have arrived somewhere along the line because Roddenberry was always wanting to do more. You know, this is something they talk about in several interviews and whatnot, where he was keen to try and bring something back, and it was Star Wars that gave him the pedestal to work on Paramount to get the motion picture written. I mean, he was working on Phase 2, you know, which would have been a television series in the 70s, and they kept throwing him off because nobody saw any interest or value in it, right? So without Star Wars, I don't even think Star Trek would have happened.
Probably not. I'm wondering, my next thought would have been Superman, which came out in 78.
Yeah. Okay.
Which established character, but still, Star Wars came from... It was wholly new. There wasn't
right.
It wasn't based on an already existing property.
We couldn't say Hollywood had run out of ideas at that time, as we do now. You know, Star Wars was fresh. It was different. There was, like I said at the beginning of our conversation today, there was an elegant simplicity to it. Even though the dialogue was clunky, there was an elegant simplicity to the plot line, to the idea.
There's a lot more going on in the movie, so there was there's so much to catch your attention.
And it appeals to the common person because it's the little guy versus the big evil, right? It's the David and Goliath. It's the scrappy young hero versus the ancient evil kind of thing. And so that appeals to a lot of modern people. You know, it doesn't matter about what country you're from or what nationality you are. There is a certain way you can identify with that at every level. Right, so I don't know.
And again, how that movie, Star Wars, the original, and I will call it Star Wars, not A New Hope, because we all saw it as Star Wars. That movie goes fast. You figure, I realized yesterday that they don't get on the Millennium Falcon. Luke and Han and Obi-Wan and Chewie don't meet each other until almost an hour into the movie.
Yeah.
Which to me is crazy when I realize that.
Yeah.
Because that first hour, even though it takes about 10 minutes before, 10, 15 minutes before, but you get swept up. You know, nowadays, like I said earlier, the effects don't necessarily hold up, but you forget about that because it's still a good movie, a great movie. And it just becomes what it is. And I forget, okay, that's the fighting with the lasers. It doesn't. How come bad guys are always such bad shots?
Only stormtroopers are so precise. Really, that's the biggest lie in the galaxy.
Yeah, I know. It's
the biggest lie in the galaxy.
The first line we hear about stormtroopers. And
They're so methodical. They're so dangerous. They're so, what the hell? You know, the ultimate gunfight. Stormtroopers versus red shirts, right? The stormtroopers miss every shot, but the red shirts still die.
Yeah.
What you doing over there?
I'm just...
You're surfing?
Surfing, yeah. I'm looking at...
Trivia?
Yeah, kind of that, but also, like...
17, I saw that, 17 awesome movies.
How Star Wars influenced other movies. That's
Okay.
what I was looking at. And,
Good deal.
17 awesome movies that Star Wars inspired. I was perusing that. I was just listening to all your conversations.
There you go.
I was interested in the actual casting, how Mark Hamill, a complete unknown, wound up as the lead.
Ooh. I had that trivia.
She has something.
And I saw that William Catt was originally...
Oh, the Greatest American Hero, William Catt.
Yeah. He wound up being the male lead in Carrie.
Okay.
Instead. He chose Carrie, so... And George Lucas liked Mark Hamill's reading of during the audition because it was just earnest.
They have a very similar look, though. The blondish hair, the youthful face. Yeah, and both. I could almost see William Catt playing it.
I read that Mark Hamill didn't, like you said, he didn't know what
he was getting into.
He was saying.
Yeah,
like the words in it, so he just read it earnestly. and it
worked. Yeah,
and it worked.
Oh, where is that?
Somewhere over the rainbow.
Wrong movie.
And I like Harrison Ford's casting because Harrison Ford was in American Graffiti.
And he wasn't. Robert Englund had auditioned for the role of Luke Skywalker, but was turned down.
Freddy Krueger?
He's then suggested to his roommate Mark Hamill that he should try for the part.
That's amazing.
Yeah,
Freddy Krueger.
Freddy-
and
I'm
Luke
like, I knew
Skywalker
I
were
saw
roommates.
it.
Go figure that one out.
That was one I
Wow,
hadn't
it's
seen.
bizarre.
There you go. There's some trivia. And
That's
then,
awesome.
Then
I did not know that.
Harrison Ford was not supposed to be.
Yeah, he was just there reading lines to help out.
George,
Right.
He was a friend of George Lucas's
Yeah.
from American
Frederick
Graffiti.
Graffiti. It says at one point George Lucas had planned the character of Han Solo to be a huge green-skinned monster with no nose and gills. He then changed the idea of Han Solo to a black human. He auditioned several black actors and musicians, including Billy D. Williams, until finally settling on Glyn Turman. But after this, he decided to make the role white. Kurt Russell, Nick Nolte, Christopher Walken, Jack Nicholson, Al Pacino, Chevy Chase, Steve Martin, Bill
I
Murray,
don't want to use the fuss, yeah? All right, come on.
Robert Englund, Sylvester Stallone, John Travolta, James Woods, and Perry King were all candidates for the role of Han Solo.
When I saw the Chevy Chase and Steve Martin on the list,
That would-
like, well, excuse me.
He wanted to stay away from any
I could
actors
almost see him do it.
that he had previously used in his movies. James Caan, Jack Nicholson, Robert De Niro, and Burt Reynolds all turned down the role.
Wow.
Harrison Ford, who had played Bob Falfa in Lucas's American Graffiti, read the part of Han Solo for screen tests for the other characters, but wasn't originally considered for the part. During these tests, Lucas realized Ford was perfect for the role.
Because Bob Felfa was a cocky drag racer.
Yeah. Yeah, I remember
So
that.
that was basically like an Earth version of Han Solo.
And a pedophile. But, hey, we look past that these days. Because
So, yeah.
there was always this conversation in American Graffiti about how Harrison Ford's character had that girl with him all the time. And
No, that was Paul Lamette.
Oh, okay. I had that
I
mistaken.
had Mackenzie Phillips was the little girl.
Oh, right. My God, you know how long it's been since I've seen American Graffiti?
Yeah,
It's gotta be like 40 years.
well,
I was only
John-
one when it came out.
John, and I forget John's last name, but he, I forget why he picked up Mackenzie Phillips, but he did wind up cruising with her all night long.
That's amazing.
Jeez.
Okay, so I take that back. I'm sorry. I had a mistake. I made a
Bob
mistake there.
Felfa was cocky drag racer. That
So Han Solo is a cocky drag racer.
Yeah, exactly.
Basically, yeah.
Well, he can make the Kessel Run in less than 12
12
parsecs.
parsecs.
Yeah.
There you go.
Okay.
I'm glad they finally sort of explained that when the Solo movie came out.
Yes.
Badly. But anyway,
But at least they tried.
they did. They gave it a shot. So, all right. Where do you want to go?
Crazy. Oh, wait, we're already there.
We've been there a long time. I mean, I think that's the thing is if I wonder what the conversation would be like if this was a one-off movie from 40 years ago and we're a bunch of nerds just chatting about it in the dining room after like a couple of successful comic book movies that we liked and whatnot. And, okay, we went to a Star Trek convention. Let's talk about this little one-off hit from 40 years ago, Star Wars. What would we thought of that?
Well, I sort of was. By the time I went to Star Trek convention, Star Wars was a hit. But the questions I keep asking myself are things I think about. The movie would have been, in today's thinking, at least 3 hours long because they would have wanted to give Luke more of a backstory. How did
Right.
he become such a good pilot?
Right.
How did he go from
Right.
being a farm boy to... Actually, my question is, how long in like our time did it take from C-3PO and from the droid market to the Death Star getting blown up?
1 week.
1 week?
And why did it take so long for the Death Star to get around the moon there or whatever, so they could get a shot? And when they got there, like instantly into
Orbital mechanics.
yeah,
It's a thing.
There's some astrophysics.
There's some plot armor there. There's some
There-
plot
there's
armor
got to
there.
be because it's just
Yeah.
like I'm like, okay, they got from the Death Star to the planet and they plan all this stuff out, and the Death Star suddenly
to be-
is in space, but it takes forever to get. They're like it's like a day. It's like less than hours. When they get to the planet, but then the Death Star takes like forever to get around. And why?
into the correct
Why didn't
orbit
they just like
for-
jump into the right place?
I just saw a cartoon about that the other day. Where it was funny. The guy's like, "Okay, we'll be in position in a half an hour," and Vader just looks at the guy and goes, "Really? We have a hyperspeed engine. Fix that now." Boom. All right, we're in range, and everybody's they're in the briefing room. They all look up and they're like, "Oh crap!" Roll credits.
and the rebels only sent 30 ships against the Death Star.
Yeah.
30,
Yeah.
30 single person
30,
fighters.
30 fighters versus the Death Star.
this big honking thing. Yeah.
A moon size
And they explain Luke being a pilot just when he runs into his old friend. Hey, Luke was the best pilot in the blah, 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 blah.
Yeah.
Well, when did he become a pilot? His uncle wouldn't let him leave the farm.
Well, they do. See, back in the 70s, you could do throwaway lines to establish backstory.
Yeah.
Nowadays, we have nitpickers galore, so they want to know the details. You know, they're
Such
going
as you want to know.
No, actually, I'm kind of happy not knowing. But
Yeah. Well, there's a lot of layers to that. Like, you know, when, for instance, they set up with Rey in the sequel series, you know, she talks about, well, this and this and this. There's these throwaway lines, and there's several of them basically inferring that she has certain skill sets, that she's been taught certain things. And people are like, how does she know how to fly so well? How does she know how to deal with the Falcon? Because she's been around the frickin' thing. You know, she even establishes that in a couple of lines. So Luke, you know, when Han Solo says the price, he goes, geez, we can only get our own ship for that. Well, who's going to fly it? I can fly it. I'm not that bad a pilot. I can fly. You know, right there's a throwaway line basically saying, no, screw you. I got this. You know, and we want more now. We are so used to 3-hour spectacles in our geek films that, and we armchair quarterback them to death. That's why we have a podcast, because we armchair quarterback everything we see, you know, and so because of that, the throwaway lines don't work for us anymore. Now, I agree with you that if A New Hope was filmed today, it would be vastly different. It would be longer. There'd be a lot more exposition.
it'd be darker.
It'd be darker, edgier, right?
It wouldn't have a PG rating.
It would not have PG-13 probably.
Maybe.
Could they have
know.
started a series on like episode 4?
No, it would.
Would someone try to do that today? Like start in the middle and then try to go back later? I mean,
But do you think that they really planned on? I mean, Lucas in his head may have, but they also created a movie that stands by itself,
right.
completely.
Yeah.
You don't need. They may have just said episode 4 is for fun.
Right.
This
you
was
know?
supposed to be a standalone
Yeah.
movie.
Yeah, it's when in
mean,
the
who would've
original opening
predicted
crawl
it?
did not have episode 4 listed on it.
Yeah. Who would have predicted it would be a hit? It
Yeah.
could have just been another summer movie that.
I have seen several older interviews of Carrie Fisher and Mark Hamill, like after the first and the second movies were done and in the canon and broadcast at this point, where they were talking about Lucas's plans. And both of them were very happy to announce that the third movie was underway, and it was already titled Revenge of the Jedi,
yeah.
as opposed to Return of the Jedi. Yeah. And Mark Hamill goes on to talk about, and George's got all these great ideas for another series of movies after that, and he, going back and looking at the series, at the galaxy before the Empire takes over and stuff like, and he's just listing, and this was all like 1983, 84. Before, no, you can't talk about stuff like that. We got to surprise people. So they were just talking openly. Oh yeah, these are all of his ideas. So those thoughts did exist. They were out there. But yeah, starting in the middle of the story, I don't think you could pull that off these days, because too many people would be like, well, how did we get here?
Well, isn't Marvel kind of doing that, starting there and
I
then went
guess
back?
they are kind of doing some of
with
them,
the different
origin stories,
and going back.
Yeah.
for characters who are no longer alive anymore, and they're still.
Yeah, I know, they're still in movies.
That harkens back to Chris's question: does that stuff happen without Star Wars, though?
I was about to ask that question too. I was about to ask that as a reminder. No, I don't think so, because not a single franchise out there, not in horror, fantasy, or anything, ever looked backwards until after the prequel trilogy came out. When you see Phantom Menace hit the series, then now you're starting talking about throwback movies. Everybody's got a throwback movie. Everybody's got a before this happened, you'll see this. All of a sudden, it became the thing. I don't see any of it before then.
The only example I can think of, and it was almost just to save money, in the original Star Trek series, they used some of the footage from the original pilot. With Jeffrey Hunter.
Right.
And the Cage, the
Right.
2-part episode.
The Cage and the Menagerie.
Yeah, the Menagerie, that's what it was. Where Pike was on trial, so they had the footage from the original pilot with him.
Spock
and
was on
Spock,
trial.
Yeah.
He did this to save his captain. That kind of thing. But that was not so much an intentional, let's do a prequel kind of a thing. That was an intentional, let's save some money. On production by doing this little clipped show kind of a thing.
We've already got the footage. Let's use it.
Let's use it. Yeah. Jeffrey Hunter. I think Jeffrey Hunter was even alive when they wrote that. Or no, he was. He died only a couple of years after the original series. But he did not want to come by to reprise Pike for a cameo. So that's why they had somebody in the. That's why they had him in this disfigured makeup.
The disfigured, yeah.
The disfigured makeup in the wheelchair was because it was an entirely different actor, and they didn't have a way to really kind of gloss that over, because recasting a similar part only happened in soap operas.
Yeah. And then is George McFly in Back to the Future, too.
Yep.
Yeah.
And things, Jennifer also getting recast and recasting the girlfriend.
Yeah. So this, that's the thing. This, I think we owe a lot to this one movie. For nerd culture, for geek culture, for global consciousness of sci-fi, fantasy, and all of the things that come with it. I don't know if it's the whole ball game, just this particular movie, but the bulk of it.
It started it.
It started a lot of it, like 95%.
It opened up a lot of people's eyes of what could be done.
Yeah, I mean, I don't want to demean everything that came before it. Star Trek: The Original Series opened a very large door. For diversity and for
Space 1999.
Space 1999 did its own thing, but Space 1999 came in after. Wasn't it?
Did
No,
it really?
I'm sorry. We did talk about this when we did the 99 episode. It was 73, 75.
That's what
so it was before Star Wars kicked in. But think of all the movies. Silent Running, 2001 A Space Odyssey. A lot of the movies that came before that, they were opening the door. Star Wars kind of grabbed the door and ripped it right off the hinges and said, that's it. This door is never closing again.
It was the movie that took the next step. And the other ones kind of stuck to the formula that was working at the time.
And we all have our moments where we think about being in that galaxy far, far away, which, by the way, is the Andromeda Galaxy. That's been proven at this point. Thank you very much. So
Proven? They got pictures?
It's been proven. We talked about this a few weeks ago. I remember bringing this up, but I saw somebody, they had a TikTok where they did the whole logic of it. And it all stems from the fact that in Phantom Menace, in the Senate seat, you see one of the Senate pods are a bunch of ETs from the ET movie, right?
Oh, right. Yeah.
Okay, now we've established that ET is in the Star Wars universe.
I did see this.
And somebody else turned around and went to the ET movie and did all sorts of back tracing and figuring out how ET was pointing at a galaxy far, far away, but they figured it was kind of like ET's home is the Andromeda Galaxy. All right, so the Andromeda Galaxy is the Star Wars galaxy.
Thank you, E.T.
Thank you, E.T. E.T. is the whole crux of that particular logic bomb right there. So, okay, yeah, great. It's a long time ago in a galaxy far, far away. Well, far, far away is still thousands of light years away. So, yeah, that's far.
That's far enough. Yeah. We'll never get there in our lifetime.
So, yes, the Andromeda Galaxy is where Star Wars takes place.
Okay, there we go.
That's a thing.
Thanks, E.T.
You can look that up. That's out there. It's not. I'm not even boasting that because I didn't even come. I thought that was clever as hell. I did not come up with that. Somebody else did who did some serious thinking on that, and I give them praise for that.
It's funny when they put those other things in other movies, kind of like little Easter eggs in other movies.
And then they all suddenly start linking up.
Hidden gems, like R2 being in Indiana Jones, R2 and C-3PO.
Yeah, R2 and C-3PO were in Indiana Jones and the Raiders of the Lost Ark.
Really?
There's a hieroglyphic right over Indy's shoulder carved in the wall as he and Sala are lifting the Ark out of its tomb. And it's so fast and so faint you can barely see it. But there are pictures online. One of the set directors, carved in C-3PO and R2-D2 into one of the hieroglyphics behind Indy.
That's probably got to be one of the earliest times they've done that.
Yeah, that's probably one of the earliest Easter eggs.
Yeah, because now it's a lot more common. But yeah, I don't know of any before that, really.
I can't think. Maybe some video game ones.
Maybe.
Which proves the timeline of a long time ago.
Yes. Now,
if they're in hieroglyphics,
I know I've mentioned this before. We all talked about this. This was a few weeks ago, I think. I'm pretty sure of it. But Harrison Ford is playing Indiana Jones again. If they age up Indiana Jones appropriately, Indiana Jones was born in 1899. The character. And so he would be age appropriate to be in the 70s. So what if one of the first scenes of Indiana Jones 5 is Indy walking out of the Star Wars movie theater after having watched Star Wars? And I can just imagine Harrison Ford being like, what was that crap?
That would be kind of a funny little...
That would be a great Easter egg.
It would be.
Somewhere, like I said, I was looking at the Wikipedia for Star Wars yesterday, and I wish I could remember what it was now, but there's a reference to, the dog's name was Indiana.
Yeah.
And there's a Star Wars, there's a tie-in to Star Wars in that.
Well,
somewhere.
Chewbacca
Chewbacca
was designed after George Lucas's dog.
Dog.
He had that trusty furry companion,
Yes, that's
and that's
what it
what
was.
stemmed from Chewbacca. You know, and obviously Chewie is a much larger than a husky, but but yeah, there's tie-ins all over the place, especially when you get Steven Spielberg and George Lucas in the same room. You know, these two guys when they're together, it's entertaining.
Did you see Peter Mayhew? George Lucas gave Peter Mayhew the choice of which role he wanted to play after meeting him. Because
Yeah.
he's 7 feet. Do you want to be Darth Vader or
do you want to be
Chewbacca?
Chewbacca.
He took Chewbacca because he wanted to be a good guy.
There you go.
Yeah.
And David Prowse wanted to be a bad guy, so
Well, it worked
therefore
out
he got
perfectly.
Darth Vader.
You know, and
And it's easier to remember the lines for Chewbacca.
yeah,
I saw that they hired James Earl Jones for the voice over Orson Welles
Yeah.
because people didn't know James
James Earl
Earl
Jones.
Jones's voice at
that
that
point.
point.
Wow.
now everybody, the whole world knows it, and always will. You know, that voice, that is just I can't even get there. That's
and
just
a lot of people didn't know that they
Not-
did this voice differently until the movie came out.
yeah. David Prowse was in the auditorium for the opening night. And as soon as Darth Vader started speaking, he's like, I tilted my head and thought to myself, what the hell?
But that's common in Hollywood for things like
Yeah.
that to happen.
Yeah, it does.
Yeah, unfortunately. Fortunately or unfortunately, I don't know. But yeah.
Oh, it's funny. It says in the early drafts of the script, R2D2 could speak standard English, but he had a rather foul vocabulary.
So he beeped everything out.
So although R2's English speech was removed, many of C3PO's reactions to it were left in.
That's funny.
I did read maybe a year ago or longer. One of them died, a year ago? Kenny Baker
Yes.
or
Yeah,
Anthony
Kenny- And Anthony Daniels still
Anthony
alive. yeah.
Daniels and Kenny Baker didn't like each other.
No?
At all. They
never
were
knew
like
that.
completely different people and they didn't get along.
So the bickering was real.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
Well,
I never knew that detail.
And it's funny because right here it says Kenny Baker has said that often when the cast and crew broke for lunch, they would forget that he was in the R2D2 outfit and leave him behind.
Oh, jeez.
Oh, that poor guy.
Poor Kenny.
They'd forget he was in there. That's amazing.
How many movies have characters that don't speak a word of any recognizable language? You know, like more main characters. Like, Chewbacca and R2D2 are main characters, basically.
I can't think of any.
And
I really can't.
I mean, you got Klingons in Star Trek, but usually they're translations, and there is a
Yeah.
language there, kind of thing,
Right.
versus just growls and stuff. Mm-hmm. It's just, who would have thought to do that?
I mean, think of all the Benji movies, I suppose, back in the day.
Lassie.
But there was
Lassie.
even the one where Chevy Chase did Oh Heavenly Dog,
Oh,
an
right.
absolutely terrible movie.
Oh, yes.
Where Chevy Chase dies and winds up in the body of Benji.
Yeah.
So you hear Chevy's thoughts.
Yeah.
That was,
No, I can't think of anything.
that's
It's-
just kind of a bizarre thing, too.
but like we talked about at the early part of the conversation, you couldn't understand what they were saying, but you knew what they were saying.
Right, because of the other side, yeah.
Yeah, because the other side, because of the inflection, the emotion, the body
there was no
language.
subtitles that said what it was. It's just
Yeah.
more of you were able to know what they were.
Somebody put subtitles one time on one of the scenes where 3PO and R2 were having an argument, but they were definitely very off color. It was very like somebody put their own interpretation on it. I was crying. I was laughing so hard. Oh my God. I can't repeat any of it. Okay, I mean, I know we're guilty of the occasional, four-letter word in this particular podcast, but it went above and beyond to socially unacceptable language. And I'm like, oh my God.
And that is why R2 is all beeps.
Yep, he's all beep because he was so foul they had to beep out every damn thing he
And
said.
it's funny because it was said that the to keep it at PG rating, they can only say hell and damn, and then R2s were all beeped out.
Yeah, yeah. So we can talk about this movie for hours, but I think what we should do is just table it, and then we'll come back next week and we'll talk about Empire Strikes Back, and just we'll do the series. But
So
go ahead, Tanya.
There's just an odd thing, and I don't know if it goes into the next movies
Let's find
or
out.
whatever, but it says the Chewbacca suit retained a bad smell for the duration of the filming after the trash compactor scene. So if that was filmed early on, depending on when it was filmed, then I can't imagine
Oh, I can't imagine either.
if it happened through the next two movies, or did they actually get it professionally
I would like
cleaned?
to know what especially because you and I, Dan, we watch TikTok a lot, and we both follow that guy Props
Props
to History.
yeah.
I would send him a message and see if we can find out whatever happened to the original Chewbacca suit, if it still exists somewhere.
That'd be nice.
I'm going to send him that this afternoon. I'll send him that.
And speaking of the trash compactor scene,
Yeah.
did they imply? I got the feeling they implied that they managed to shower after getting out of the
It felt
Trey.
like they just kind of brushed it over.
Because
Like,
they all
Luke was
wound up
really-
clean, and then one of them was like using a towel. Like,
Yeah.
Where'd they find that?
They found the towel.
They found the shower on.
In case
Took
there's a
time
little
to
closet.
shower,
There's a
yeah.
little closet right outside the trash compactor
Yeah.
saying, "In case of being trapped in here,
Shower.
quick shower here."
Yeah.
Emergency shower. You got the emergency eye washers in places. You got emergency
Yes.
shower. So,
Yes.
There you
You
go.
know.
Another piece of trivia about the trash compactor scene is Mark Hamill held his breath for so long during that scene that he broke a blood vessel in his face. So subsequent shots are shot from one side only.
Oh, jeez.
Because he
That
was
poor
under-
guy has dealt with so much damage to his face.
Oh, I
over
know, no kidding.
Years.
How about the origin of "I've got a bad feeling about this"?
If we were joking
How
about
that became the line through every movie is funny.
Because the first line was "I've got a very bad feeling about this." And then
wasn't
there's
that
always-
Luke?
Yeah.
Luke says it first.
Yeah, and then it just
But it's
Came
stuck,
out from
and now
there.
it's been in every movie since then. I've got a bad feeling
Feeling
about
about
this. To the point where when we were watching Rise of Skywalker in the theaters, the moment it got said, everybody in the auditorium went nuts. I got a bad feeling about this. Yeah, it's become like the iconic line. It's right up there with "May the Force be with you." And
was
also
it in
with
the
you.
off movies? It wasn't. Was it in like Rogue One or Solo?
I think it's in Solo. I don't remember about Rogue One, so I'm gonna have to. We're gonna have to watch Rogue One
Research,
again.
Yeah.
research it.
But I don't know. I think they're definitely in all 9 of the saga movies.
Yes, because I think they had to after.
Yeah. It also popped up a couple of times in Clone Wars and Rebels, the animated series.
Okay.
It popped up a couple of times.
Did anyone else catch, because when I was rewatching it the other night with Chris, that when C-3PO was first on Tatooine with Luke, and he's like, "Oh, you've seen some battles," and it's like, "Oh, the stories I could tell, but I'm not a storyteller."
Oh, yeah, yeah.
And then two
But
movies later,
Return of the Jedi, he's
Return
the
of
one
the
telling the
Jedi,
stories.
he's the one that's telling stories in the Ewok village.
Yeah.
That who's like completely switched around from
Well, he
characters.
evolves. You know, it's been. It's,
Everybody evolves in
that's
their own
right.
way.
You know,
Even Vader,
that's just right.
you know? The only person
He
who doesn't,
devolved and evolved again.
the only person who doesn't evolve from the first movie to the Return of the Jedi movie is Tarkin. There's a strange silence in the room right now. Crickets. There it is.
Sorry, I got distracted.
It's probably best for the best. So let's take a quick break. I think that's good. And, I hope the conversation's spurring with you at home. And feel free to talk to us about your thoughts about this great movie. And and we'll keep the conversation going. And we're looking forward to being involved in this kind of thing for a long time to come. So we're going to take a quick break. We'll be right back. And we are back, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, dudes and dudettes. That was fun. I like that.
Yes.
Focus
Very
on
good.
one thing. We sidetracked a little bit here and there, but
that's normal.
Yeah, that's normal for
But
us.
we had some good conversation.
I
there.
think
But
we would
like
actually
it.
be in physical pain if we didn't sidetrack
right
a little bit.
We got to keep healthy here.
Yes. So, with that being said, guess what, kids? We're not changing this part of the format today. Like every other day, it is now time for the question of the week. Put my own little reverb in there.
Oh boy.
Dan, what do you got for us? You had one lined up, so we were actually prepared for it.
What's the funniest thing you've seen a kid do?
I was prepared for this, and I still could not come up with something. The funniest thing.
Can I just point out you're a parent of 2?
I know.
And you are a school teacher, so you've seen several
I
kids
know,
over the years.
But it's like,
None
I
of
can't-
them have made you laugh,
No, ever.
which just proves my
No,
point.
no,
Well,
no.
actually-
Billy,
Kids wreck everything.
the laugh has been like, I'm going to kill you.
You humorless children,
No.
get out of my life.
No, I mean, my kids do funny things all the time, but I really can't pinpoint something that made me like.
All right,
go,
I'll tell a story,
Okay, made me.
and
I'll
it might
think-
inspire you to think of something else.
Yes.
Okay. So, common knowledge: my parents have been split since I was about 29. So I'm almost 20. 20 years now. 21 years. These two have not been together, and it's not always been a pleasant experience. They did not split quietly. My dad is very. It is what it is. Okay. He never really tries to bring it up all that much. It's just something that happened. My mother, however, can hold a grudge. And so, but here's the thing. They both set it aside when there was a family gathering. But there were days. Now, I rewind the clock back to about 8 years ago. Ian was 10, and we were at our house on Burr Street. And it was a birthday, and my dad was already at the house, and he was in the kitchen talking to my then father-in-law. And the two of them were shooting the shit and relaxing. And, the party was brewing. People were coming in and going, coming in and going. Ian and I were standing in the archway between the living room and the dining room, much like I have at this house here. And the front door opens, and my mother walks in. Now, I'd been expecting this. I knew that my parents were going to be in the same house at the same time. But my son was not aware that this was going to be transpiring, that his two paternal grandparents would be in the same place at the same time. And he knew that this was always going to be dicey and sketchy at best. So, taken by surprise by my mother's entry, he looks up at me and goes, "Oh, shit." And he was in earnest. He was surprised. And it was the first thing off top. And I had to choke. "Ian, sorry." And it was perfectly amiable. The two of them, later that day, the two of them were actually even in the kitchen chatting with each other and trading stories with people around them. So I thought that was very nice, and that was very good. But I'll tell you, Ian's reaction was perfect. And I'll tell you another one just to help out. This is the one I tell my kids whenever the two of them are at war with each other. Because there are times where they just can't stand being around each other, but I try to remind them that they've been friends and that they're family and that they always get along. They were very small, both single digits, and I took them to the play place at the Irondequoit Mall before it became the Medley Center, before it became the Museum of Mold. Now it's something else.
Museum of Mold.
And then, so anyway, but they had that big padded play place in one of the junctions. And of course, as usual, they were always splitting the distances, defenses. So one's always one and for the other. I couldn't keep track of them. Well, at one point I turn and I see Ian at the other end, and I see this little heavyset kid just all of a sudden from behind just clotheslines Ian, sends him to the floor. And I couldn't see no reason. Ian was just playing quietly, just enjoying himself. He's talking to this one kid, and all of a sudden this little thunderball just comes up and runs him over. So I set the kid down. I said, "Wait, whoa, what'd you do that to my son for?" And the mother comes over, "Why are you accosting my kid?" I told her, "This is what I saw." And the mother, apparently aware that her son is a bit of a bully, scolds the kid, sided with me. Okay, cool. I'm considering case closed. Mom and I are on the same side. Okay, great. So about a half an hour later, I'm getting ready. I'm looking for them. We're gonna wrap this up, and I'm gonna take them home. And I see Ian again at the other end of the freaking play place from where I am. And out of the blue, here comes the same kid. He's got the arm bar out. He's lining Ian up for a clothesline. Ian does not see it because he's clueless. He was 5, 6 years old, tops, 7 maybe on the outside, and just does not see it coming. And it's loud, and I'm yelling, "Ian, Ian!" And he can't hear me over the shouting and the music and the singing because it's this active mall and everything. And this couldn't have been scripted better by George Lucas. Okay. Just as the kid's about to flatten my son, out of nowhere comes Juliana. She is airborne. She is off the ground. The brunette tornado. She is stretched out like Superman, and she levels this kid. Just takes him completely out. I mean, it was a picture perfect Jet Li flying tackle. I mean, it was all bam. And I'm like, oh, the eyes go wide. I'm like, holy crap. And I go running down there, right? And by the time I get there, she's standing over him like Ali over Liston with that arm like, ah. And she's like, you stay away from my brother. And
you're like,
and I looked over at the mom because the kid's mom shows up at the same time, and she's like, he earned it. Right?
Well, at least the mom knew,
And I had to literally, she was wearing overalls, like the short overalls, like lederhosen almost kind of thing. So I grabbed her by, I had to carry her away like luggage because she wanted to kill this kid for hurting her brother. And meanwhile, because the kid had not made contact the second time around,
Ian's like,
Ian is just, I am okay, what's going on? Hey, that looks cool. I then took them both out for ice cream. But yes, those are funny stories that involve my kids. There are many. My kids have such a great sense of humor, both of them. One, Ian likes to be intentionally funny. He likes to look for the funny thing to say to break tensions in the room. Jules just says weird things that she doesn't realize she's saying it until it's way too late, and then that's funny. So, but yes, Those are stories I can share.
Josh is the joker in my family. He's the one who always does the silly things. He doesn't like to smile for camera, so we'll make funny faces for cameras. He's always doing bizarre things. I don't know. I can't think of a single thing I can share at this moment, but
right.
He's the one who always makes me laugh and like, oh my gosh, what are you doing, kind of thing.
He is. It's so funny too because he's so basically shy around me. He doesn't know what to make of me half the time.
Pretends to be shy around people. He
does it comically so.
He does it on purpose. I don't know if he's really shy. If it's just okay. This is how I'm going to act right now, and then give me 5 minutes, and I'm going to do whatever kind of thing. But he always does that initially to people, and even when relatives and things like that. His uncle Jeff, who he loves, he'll do that. He'll go hide and whatever. It's just part of his game.
He's kind of gauging the reaction.
It's part of his game. He always wants to. He's always playing games. He's always got something going on in his head there. I mean, Zach is so quiet and laid back, and Josh is so opposite.
Yeah,
but they get along well.
That's good. That's all matters.
They don't. I mean, Zach, it's. They have their moments. Of course, every sibling does. But,
I wouldn't know.
Me neither.
We've had our moments.
Yes, we have. Yes, we have. We have had our moments.
I still wouldn't know.
We have our moments.
I remember the first time you and I argued over FC3, and Deanna looked at me. She goes, "I didn't know the two of you could argue."
That's been a lot of arguments over FC3.
All of our arguments have been over FC3.
Yes.
How about you, Billy? Have you ever experienced something?
It's the first thing that came into my head was something that it wasn't necessarily funny. That I had a young nephew. He was maybe 3 or 4. I was maybe in my early teens at the time, but I still remember my family having an outdoor picnic, and there was a garden hose that was hooked up to the side of the house, and my nephew it picked up the hose and was like looking at it. So I forget who it was. Maybe my brother turned it on, so it sprayed him in the face.
The classic. The classic.
And he started crying. It's still funny. Yeah. But he set it down and went running away. And then every once in a while, he'd look at it, and he'd get just enough of false sense to say, okay, it's off this time.
Yeah.
Like every third time you turn it on and still surprise him, like knock him down and make him cry. But so I guess a crying child is
funny.
It's funny.
My brother
hurt. Yes.
Yeah, my brother has a saying. No, because my brother Tom, my oldest brother, and myself, we don't have kids. My sister has a couple. My other brother has a couple, but me and Tom don't. And Tom's saying, and I repeat it often, is the sound of a laughing child is like a dagger in my heart.
Oh, jeez.
So, but I still always remember my.
Whoa!
Juno.
That's actually the funniest thing I've seen a kid do.
Barking
Surprisingly,
at his
was
older
Ian.
sister.
That is person there.
It's Juliana.
Yeah.
Hey, Julie Bug. See, if you disappear for 2 days, then
Juno doesn't know you.
recognize you anymore. Here, come say hi to everybody.
Hi, everybody.
No, come here. Say hi to everybody. Right here. Just say
Hi, everybody.
Oh, you're gonna do that, right? Here. Look, come here.
Okay.
Say hi, everybody.
Hi, everybody.
There you go. See, in a way, we can actually hear you.
We heard that you were a superhero when you were about 6.
8.
Eight.
About 8 or 9 at the time.
Yes.
I was telling them about the time that at the play place when you tackled that kid who was attacking your brother.
The fond memories.
She's like, I wouldn't
when
do
you
it
still
now.
liked your brother.
Would you do it today?
I wish I'd let the kid tackle
Bigger
him.
than me. He's fine.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
Yeah,
He is slightly
Ian is
bigger
twice,
than you are, yeah,
twice
yeah.
the size of
Little
Jules. That if somebody
bit.
tried to attack Ian, I'd feel really a great swell of pity for that person who tried to take on Ian.
We have to find that original kid.
Yeah, I know. Seriously, they have a reunion. That would be great. Wouldn't it be great if the kid never grew past like 5'6", 5'7", tops? So here's Ian at 6'4".
Remember when you clotheslined me?
I don't.
Molly's running around loose at the moment. Okay.
I'm gonna shower and then I'm heading over to Mom's to hang out with Nima before she leaves.
Okay, sounds good.
Good luck.
Love you. See, it's so good to be together again.
That's right.
All of a sudden, chaos ensues.
Yeah, chaos ensues because we're home.
Cameo appearance.
Cameo appearance by Juliana Frank. How about you? Did you come up with a story yet? I can let you off the hook.
Yeah, let me off the hook. I mean, my kids do funny things all the time, but I can't come up with any.
I just want to say that the
super
the guy
story
with
like that.
no kids
I know.
had a great story compared to the person who's around hundreds of kids all the time. I'm just throwing that out there.
I know.
There's a little bit of picking going on there. It's
Yeah.
fun though.
I remember on
But we do it
TikTok,
because-
they've had a lot of the people with the lightsabers, and well, what does this do? Looking into it.
Oh yeah, I've seen that. Yeah,
When you said the hose, it kind of brought,
Yeah.
brought that
Yeah.
up. Like, oh. And then you just see the.
friends, at home, if you like what we're doing, please go out to our patreon.com, FC3ROC, and support us, please. We would love to have your backing and your help. Our Patreon supporters have helped us kind of have some of the tech that we have today and some of the things that we do on StreamYards for Nerd World News, and we appreciate you. And so
We love you.
We do, and our entire online existence can be found on our link tree. That's linktr.ee/Mighty Monkey. Everything we are is on that list. And we would love to have you share and expand and send it off. And if you like what we're doing, introduce it to other people. That'd be fantastic. And we would entertain them, hopefully, just as well as we entertain you. So,
And if you're listening to this on a podcast service, make sure you give us some good ratings.
Yeah, absolutely.
Give us the 5 stars.
let us know what we're doing. If you don't like what we're doing, then let us know that too, and we will work on it. We try to be as interactive as possible and accessible, easy to be found, easy to be chatted with.
Hey, there you are.
Hello,
I
look
found
at you. I
See,
saw you.
You are pretty easy to find.
It is
Yeah,
easy to
see?
find, especially when you're sitting right next to me.
Yes.
So, like I said, just keep pushing the signal out and letting folks know that we're here and doing this thing for now 195 episodes, 8 episodes of Dan and Chris Save the World, countless episodes of Comic Chicks.
Yes.
At this point.
Which we have another one this week.
I know. Dozens, hundreds of Nerd World Newses and dozens of Gamer Street Irregulars, and we're out there. We're really out there.
We got the Gamer Street Irregulars. We got the Penny and James kind of sort of
Funny cartoon.
Funny. I can't even see the
The
title. It's
podcast
so
title's
long.
longer than the podcast.
I know. I can't even read the title's so long. But they have there's 5 episodes of that.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's 24 episodes of Gaming Street Irregulars.
Mm-hmm.
So we're getting up there.
We have 1 episode or 2 episodes of the FC3 Gaming Headquarters.
Yep. We now
Yes.
have our first episode of the gaming. Is that what we're going to call it? The Gaming Headquarters?
That's what I at least did it on StreamYard. It was the FC3 Gaming
I
Headquarters.
was trying to think of something fancy to call it, like Adventure Scouts or something
yeah,
like that.
so
I don't know, something silly.
It's working
Work in progress.
Yeah, working title.
Work in
type thing.
progress.
And we've had, 4 or 5 conventions. What are we?
Yes.
4 of them.
Four.
And we're working on our 5th this
5 is
September.
coming up.
So
FC3 6. The search for
Search for
FCC5.
yes.
I love that title.
Because it was supposed to be 2020, and now we're 2021, and it, yeah.
Almost going to be 2022 if something falls through. So.
Yeah, it's looking better every day. So
Good. I'm glad to hear it.
It's going in the right direction.
The future's so bright. We got to
Can
wear
wear
shades.
or at least lenses that have transitions in them, like I do.
Fancy.
So with that, this is the moment where I get to look over to my right, and I get to say, "Hey, Dan."
Hey, Chris.
Hey, Dan.
Hey, Chris.
Hit it. Because this has been FC3's Mighty Monkey Business, your one-stop shop for everything geeky, and everything can be geeky if you love it enough. Produced by the Mighty Monkey Corporation, purveyors and producers of the Flower City Comic-Con. Coming at you September 25th and 26th at the Total Sports Experience in Gates. Like us on Facebook, follow us on Twitter, follow us on Instagram, follow us wherever we go, and we will lead you to where the entertainment is. You guys have a great week. Have a safe week, and we will talk to you again next week.
Bum, bum.